everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the President and CEO. This is my weekly address for a Tuesday, and today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. I would like to take the moment to shout out my mom. It's her birthday today, and I hope she has a great one. Lots to talk about on the address today, sort of all across the board in terms of variety of topics, but let me give you a project update first and foremost. We had received word last week from Department of Financial Services closer to the end of the week that they were done with their review. And this is something that we have been waiting for months and months. So this was extremely exciting. And for those that were in the hallway when I got the news at my desk, you definitely heard me screaming. I think there were some hugs exchanged. After that happens, what happens next is the Department of Health actually is the official sign off for the state as a whole. So Department of Financial Services signed off. They have given their sign off to DOH, the Department of Health. And I did check in with Department of Health this morning, asking if we expected to get our final approval letter today. And the indication was that they expected that to be the case. Once that happens, the financing can go out into the market in earnest. And there are several steps to this. It involves printing up certain materials that have to go out to the potential bondholders. We do a bondholder webinar. It's sort of a sales pitch process, and we make sure through our underwriter, which is Ziegler, that we've got adequate buyers to purchase the roughly $32 million in bonds. And then what's called a bond purchase agreement is signed by the underwriter that basically says we've got a deal, and then the closing happens within a week or two after that, which is when the cash flow will start. All of this is great news, and it is to say that as soon as we have that signed BPA or bond purchase agreement in hand, we will be able to give the construction manager the green light to begin mobilizing, and site work will begin in earnest. I'm not going to go into great details on that at the moment because I know that everyone is getting their information on this from Dave Roberts on his Friday addresses, but I want to just sincerely thank everyone for your support in getting us to this process. The roughly $2 million plus in commitments that we received for the PAC, the new PAC, has gotten us to the finish line. Excuse me, we have you to thank for that. So I am very excited. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished, and I'm really thrilled that this work is going to begin. To the point of the capital campaign, we are working currently with Sawyer Savings Bank to open the dedicated contribution account. And as soon as that happens, once we've got that signed bond purchase agreement in hand for the financing, it's at that point that we will be able to also begin accepting donations into that Sawyer Savings Bank account for the capital campaign. There will be specific information that comes out about that, but we expect that to happen within less than a month. So certainly within the 2025 fiscal year, calendar year. And you were all very gracious in making your commitments and letting us know which quarters. And we will be getting much more information out about how those donations can begin to be made and how we will get recognition letters out and so forth. But that will be opening with Sawyer forthwith. In your email inbox, two things, one helpful thing, one annoying thing. Some of you through our BraveNet forum have reported that you have received some sort of invitation or invitatio with no N, spam emails looking for you to do something. And it's odd because the emails are actually also coming from yourself. So what that typically would indicate is that there's some sort of a hack that has happened. And the most important thing is that if you see an email in your inbox from your own name, please don't open it. Very rarely would you have sent yourself an email, and you definitely would remember if you did. I would just not even open it. I would delete it or just don't touch it. If by chance you ever open an email like that or any other email and you're not 100% certain what the contents are. The most important thing is that you do not click on any links in those emails. Those links, if you don't know what they are, can oftentimes end up being bad news. You can always call us. We can check a link for you, but the safest thing to do is just ignore it or delete it. That's one email item. The other email item is last evening, we sent out a sort of a satisfaction survey or a feedback survey related to health center staffing. This was because although we always have vacant positions posted and available online for the health center, which actually is interesting. It seems like some of the people that are completing the survey are not aware of that. I will deal with that and cover that in detail on another address. But we're always posting, we're always hiring for CNAs, LPNs, RNs, unit assistants. But those positions are hard to recruit for. It's a tough environment. What we're looking to do is identify those specific tasks that we feel or that the residents or their loved ones feel may not be getting done adequately, because it may not necessarily be a unit assistant or a CNA that has to do that job. So as we think about, do we have the right postings posted? Are we recruiting for the right positions? We want your feedback to let us know that it's because, I don't prefer to have my loved one have idle time. We want my loved one to always have activity going and to be individually interacting, not necessarily one-on-one, but that there's a human being sort of leading, maybe not activity, but touring or, doing something. We're not asking you to necessarily solve the problem. That's our job. But what we do want is as much feedback on specific tasks or specific desires that you feel are not getting accomplished, if you feel that there's some sort of an inadequacy, because that allows us to look at our staffing matrix and recruit for potentially different positions. We're very creative when we do that. I think we're probably the only long-term care facility in the world, probably the state, but definitely the world maybe, that has an ambassador of cheer full-time position. So we do like to get creative, and there's lots of different ways that we can accomplish those tasks that may not necessarily fit within purely, there's not a CNA that we were able to fill a position for. It's the jobs that need to get done that we want to see from your eyes. So if you can please fill those out, they're extremely helpful, and we really appreciate your feedback. October 9th, Sawyer Savings Bank will be here in the PAC at 10 a.m. and they are doing a information session with questions and answers on online banking. So this is a tutorial as to how to use their online banking platform. I know many of you have accounts with Sawyer Savings. It is so convenient. I moved some of our accounts there, and especially if you're going to be doing an account for the capital campaign, this is a great time for you to go and learn about the online banking. So that is going to be October 9th at 10 a.m. All right, a couple of housekeeping type items related to calendars and events and activities. We have begun taking spaces offline in anticipation of construction beginning. And we're doing that now so that we can get as many of the hiccups out, as many of the wrinkles out before the construction vehicles are here on site and you start to see walls and demolition and so forth. What is extremely important right now is that if you have regularly occurring off-calendar events, so it's your mahjong game, it's a small discussion group that you have getting together, Carrie Kohler absolutely needs to know about that if you need common area space for that activity. We are working to put a jigsaw puzzle together right now, which does include overflow space downstairs and will include lounges and so forth in each of the wings. But this week is the week that Carrie needs to know about all of your regular activities that have been happening in the community building that may not be on the calendar, so that she can help you and us to facilitate and make sure that all of the things that need to be accommodated can be accommodated. On a related note, because we are moving a lot of things around and we are working as hard as we can to stick to our commitment that we're trying our darndest to not cancel anything. We absolutely are going to be asking people to arrive timely when a meeting is supposed to start and to depart the room timely when the meeting or the event is supposed to end. We really don't have time for early arrivals or late stragglers because we're really bumping things right up against each other. So if something is from 9 to 10, you should plan on walking into that room at 9 o'clock and be out of there before 10 o'clock hits for the next person. So as you're sitting in your meetings and as you're talking about that, please just do keep that in mind. If you need to request an extended period of time, another 15 minutes on the front end or the back end, this is the time to ask those questions. We can't make any promises. Right now, we're working off of what was existing. But this is the time to ask so that we can make those tweaks if we can, and then make note of the things that might need to change as we continue to manipulate the schedules and accommodate all of your activities. Resident council voting. We currently have 6 candidates for 5 openings, and that's a great place to be. There have been years that we have not had, even 5 for 5 openings, or we've had just 5, which isn't exactly a representative election. It sort of turns into sort of being something that just sort of is unavoidable. Everyone gets a spot if that's the spots that you have. So I'm very thankful to everyone that has put their name in the ring to run for the resident council, and for everyone that is a member of the resident association and can vote for the resident council. Please vote. It's so important. Our team, the board, we really look towards the residents council to provide us feedback, priorities from the residents, to be a sounding board on things. We work on issues together all the time. So membership on the resident council is very important. It's one of the most significant places for residents to have a voice here at the community. It is well regarded, well respected by myself, our executive team, and the board. And I do hope that you all take the opportunity to vote. And again, thank you to all of those that are running. Tom Tango has asked me to provide an update related to the move of the pub. As you are all kind of realizing at this point, we are actually going to be able to salvage what we did not think was going to happen. We never anticipated that we would be able to keep the pub open during construction, but we will. It's a valuable part of our day every day, and we're moving towards the day that we're actually going to be switching over. Tom thinks that that's going to be the week of October 20th, and that there will probably be 1 or 2 days max that we have to actually completely shut down in order to make that move happen. That's because of plumbing hookups and utilities and those kinds of things. So look for that and look for more information as we get moving along here. But the physical bar top area and the counters and the equipment will be moving so that we have pub service available to you. And it looks like that's going to be the week of October 20th. Okay, rumor mill and suggestion box. Several of these things fall into the world of the chief operating officer and her leadership. And so she has been able to look into these for me, and I will give you updates on those if I have them from her. This one says the new cleaning products are awful. Many of us have asked the staff not to mop the floors as it leaves them too sticky. No turquoise in toilet, gloves puncture, etc. So Cameron looked into this with Rob Dunn and Carrie Burns, the folks that are in charge of our environmental services department, and they indicated that actually nothing has changed in terms of the products that we're using to do cleanings. And so what they have asked is if at any time you have any dissatisfaction with your cleaning, please make sure you're communicating that. The easiest way to do that is to call concierge and let them know, and they can get a message over to the folks that need to know about that. But we want to satisfy you, and Rob and Carrie especially so. And they were surprised to hear some of this, actually. So can you please get that feedback to them if you wrote this, and let them know that this is not meeting your expectation, and they will either do some retraining, do a double check to make sure that what's supposed to be happening is happening, and so forth. But real-time feedback on dissatisfaction of our services is the best way for us to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to meet your expectations. The next is, could we have some video exercise classes in the PAC on weekends? They are so empty and no pool soon. So Cameron and Matt Romer and Jason have taken this on, and they're going to look at it. We have run weekend classes in the PAC on the screen, and they have been very poorly attended in the past. That may change a bit with us needing to provide our pool services at SUNY New Paltz for a few weeks. People may be more interested in doing something in the PAC, and they will certainly be looking into this. So this has been passed along. If you are the person that wrote this and have any specific requests, the type of classes that you're looking for, any kind of genre of fitness, if you could please let probably Matt Romer know, but you could also see Jason or Cameron Reale. This one says, in reference to all of the major renovations, since there will be some workers that are not Woodland Pond staff, I feel that for security purposes, they should have large full name tags, possibly colored, say with a bright orange border, so residents know that who they might meet in various areas. Just a thought to ensure that all residents are comfortable. I actually took this directly to our site supervisor, Anthony. You will all get to know Anthony really well. Anthony works for Wolson, and he will be here full time as a site supervisor with a couple of other site supervisors that will be here full time. And they will be responsible for the daily oversight of every single individual contracted firm and their staff. And the security issues and the security protocols are going to be very strong. We are going to be having all of the workers wear fluorescent clothing, and that is referred to as high visibility or high vis in the industry. And then that way you will always know that the person that you're encountering is one of the construction folks, one of the laborers. In terms of their identification, each will have some sort of identification. We will not be issuing security badges that allow access to every single worker to inside of the building. We don't feel that that's appropriate, and Anthony does not feel that it's necessary at all. So only certain key people will have access to allow workers into the building, and there will be a daily attendance taken, and you will hear us really start to say, the importance is that you're feeling safe, the importance is that you're feeling secure, and that you're feeling informed. And as we go through this process, just like when we did the filming or when we've done other construction projects, if at any time you feel that there's an unsafe condition, an unsafe situation, we're going to want you to report that right away. I know that this is going to be construction on a much larger scale, but the reality is that we have vendors in the building here every single day. We've got multiple painting crews. We've got contractors that are in the building. We have flooring vendors. So they're here all the time anyway. And this is actually making me think that maybe we should require them to do high-vis clothing. They currently don't. A lot of them are very nondescript, but this is a great idea. And we can always learn something from one incident and then apply it to another. But thank you very much for this feedback. And we are, as I said, already communicated this with Anthony, and he is ready to rock and roll. The last one from the box said, I wonder what the results would be if all of the residents voted yes or no to the massive construction now underway. Construction is not underway yet, but this person's clearly anticipating it. And I would guess that it probably really depends on a few things. Things like how closely have you been watching the addresses? How closely are you following the Finance Review Committee meetings, coming to resident council meetings? But regardless, this is Woodland Pond, so we know anytime we put something up for a vote, it's 50% for, 50% against, or everybody's somewhere in the middle. So I'm sure we've got some that are very excited, and we've got some that are very hesitant about what to expect. And the important thing is we're going through this as a community. This is extremely typical. There are no CCRCs that are thriving that have not renovated. As a matter of fact, the one that is somewhat close to Woodland Pond that has never renovated is doing very poorly because they lose curb appeal. You can't bring people in, and if you can't bring new people in, then your community can't survive. We need customers, we need clients, we need residents, and the way that we do that is by keeping this community current, attractive, and bringing the amenities that residents are looking for. Now, the last thing before I go today, and I touched on this briefly both at the Residents Council meeting last week and in the Chanticleer, but I feel that this is a great opportunity for me to bring it up. It's somewhat of an emotional topic. And if you were at the Resident Council meeting on Thursday, or if you were watching on Zoom, you heard a couple of residents giving their own, I would say, rather emotional experiences related to this sensitive topic. And what the topic is how we as a community can normalize or be more actively discussing what happens when a neighbor moves into the health center, and how there is hesitancy sometimes by friends, even the closest of friends, to go visit. How do we bridge the gap? How do we make sure that we're finding ways to make ourselves comfortable to go visit our beloved neighbors, especially when they are at their greatest time of need? And I know, and I totally understand, very empathetic to the fear, the hesitancy of wanting to or not wanting to go see a neighbor maybe that has moved into assisted living or into skilled nursing, even if temporarily. There's a fear attached to it. There's facing your own mortality attached to it. I think we all feel it to some extent, but I think we owe it to one another to break down those barriers and break down those hesitancies, because this is when our neighbors and our residents need us the most, is when they are in the health center. And I don't have an immediate answer. What I discussed was that it was my hope and goal that this is something that my exec team could work through with the Mental Health and Wellness Committee. I think there's also a significant role for the Health Center Committee itself, the Neighbor Corps. But as I've been thinking about this since this came up last week, I think one of the things that I would recommend to people that are feeling a combination of hesitancy and desire to go see a beloved neighbor in the health center would be to go with a friend or go with a neighbor. And, I've always found that if I'm fearful to do something, or if I'm hesitant to do something, if I'm with someone that I trust, that I know might be feeling the same way I do, sometimes there's power in those numbers, and it makes you realize you're not doing this alone. But the most important thing is that that person that has moved to the health center is feeling the love from their neighbors, is feeling seen and respected. And again, this is when folks are at their most in need of this community's love and support. And I completely understand, completely recognize it's human nature to struggle with these types of visits and these types of situations, but I know we can find a solution at Woodland Pond. This is one of the most loving and caring communities that I've ever experienced. And I know that if there's a community that can figure out how this can go as well as possible, then it's us. And I look forward to working through this. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a great day.